Hello, YouTube. It's definitely been a long time since I've been here. Had a long, late winter and spring, very busy at work, but I did not stop reading. I just did not have the capacity to make videos at the time. I was exhausted almost every day. But here I am. I've got 4 books to talk about that I read from about February. Let's see, what's the last book I made a video on? I think it was Underworld by Don DeLillo. So I've got 4 books that I've read since then, and the one that I am currently reading. And you will be definitely seeing a video on a few of these books, at least 2 of them. Yeah. So to start off, right off the bat, we have The Volcano Lover by Susan Sontag, or maybe Sontag. I'm not 100% sure. I had read before some of Susan Sontag's essays in one of my creative writing classes in college, primarily essays from her book called Regarding the Pain of Others. But I was unfamiliar with her fiction. I picked this one up because of volcanoes. I love geology, and volcanoes are awesome, so I thought I'd read this one. It's about Sir William Hamilton, who was a British aristocrat around the late 1700s and early 1800s, and he was ambassador to the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, which was headquartered in Naples. So he was trotting around talking with the king, and working out deals between the English government and the Sicilian government. And then this is also set during the time of the Napoleonic Wars. So Sir William Hamilton is ambassador to Naples. He is an avid collector of antiquities, Roman and Greek artifacts from the Mediterranean region, of paintings. And then he is also sort of a scientist who's studying Mount Vesuvius there. He goes on expeditions up the sides of Mount Vesuvius. He's seen many eruptions, collect samples from it. And he actually sent these samples back to the London Scientific Society, something like that, and essays he wrote about the volcano. And they're some of the first major in-depth studies of volcanic activity, which is really interesting. Oh, and before I go on, Sir William Hamilton was a real person. This is historical fiction. So, Sir William Hamilton is married to Lady Emma Hamilton, who was not an aristocrat before he married her. She was of low birth. And he marries her. She is far younger than him. And she begins an affair with Admiral Horatio Nelson, one of the admirals of the British fleet, who is engaged in naval battles with Napoleon. And Nelson was super famous at the time. They called him the hero of the Nile because he defeated the Napoleonic fleet at the Battle of the Nile. And obviously he had so many other great victories. So he's very famous at the time. So this affair is actually like normal everyday people know about it. And the book it's about the affair, but also it's very political. It's about the politics of revolution, politics of upper class society versus lower class society, politics of art and of collecting. It was very interesting. A lot of digressions, pretty dense material. It wasn't quite what I expected when I started it. And I will say, I think I liked the first half more than the second half up until the very ending. The ending was great. But I do think I enjoyed the first half more than the second half. I would not recommend it to everyone. I think I would have maybe enjoyed this if I was more familiar with Sontag's writing. It felt like a lot of the material in the book were almost essays, but just put in the context of this narrative. So I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite read ever, but I would like to come back to it someday. So that's Susan Sontag's The Volcano Lover. Second book that I want to talk about is Annihilation by Jeff VanderMeer, science fiction. This one's pretty famous. Obviously, there's the movie with Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac that is based off of this. And I've seen the movie. I love the movie. I watched it again after reading this. I will say the book is quite different than the movie. So if you don't know, This is about an area in the American South, probably. It sounds like it's somewhere in like Florida or maybe the Gulf of Mexico, these pine barrens near the coastline. And it's an area called Area X, which there's strange things that are happening in this area, and it's growing slightly. So a agency has been sending in expeditions to check out Area X and to see what's going on. And the narrator of this one, of this particular expedition, she's a biologist. She goes in, and you learn throughout that her husband was in the previous expedition. He was missing for a long time, and he returned, but he was changed, and finally the agency came and took him back. But you can tell that that was part of the biologist's motive to go in and study Area X and to see what's really going on in there. There were quite a few differences from the movie. Honestly, a lot of differences. The beginning felt slightly similar, but after that, it kind of is very different. There was a cool part in the book that I almost wish was in the movie. One of the members of this expedition, I think, let me see. She is a member of I want to say it's the 12th expedition into Area X. Anyway, that doesn't matter. This expedition is made up of 4 women. There is a biologist, an anthropologist, a surveyor, and a psychologist. The psychologist is the team leader. And there's a part in the book that you don't see in the movie where the psychologist actually uses hypnosis to get the team across the border of Area X and to subtly influence them and change their goals within the expedition. At one point, the biologist becomes exposed to some of the strange biological stuff that's happening in Area X, and she becomes immune to the psychologist's hypnotism. But I do wish that was in the movie. It was very interesting. I'm not sure if I enjoyed this more than the movie, but I really liked it. I think they both kind of hold up on their own independently from each other. The movie is a loose adaptation for sure. I'm not sure if I've given a good description of what's happening in Area X. Essentially, I mean, we don't know what started it, but the life forms in Area X are beginning to change, even on the cellular level. And so the biologist is very interested in that. It's very alien. It's very strange. There are mutated creatures. There was one striking part of the novel where the biologist is walking along the coastline and she sees a dolphin that has the eyes of a human, which was just very eerie. And so there's all sorts of combinations of organisms happening. So I really love this. I would recommend this one, especially if you're into sci-fi. The next book I read was Yuri Herrera's Signs Preceding the End of the World. This one was very short. It's certainly a novella. I think it's only about 110 pages long, 107. What this is about is a Mexican woman who has to travel across the border to the United States to try and find her brother. It was a very strange read, very surreal. The writing style is pretty minimalistic, but there's a lot of unique language that the author uses. For example, whenever she's trying to say someone left an area or goes somewhere, she'll say, let me see. I'm sorry, Yuri Herrera is a man. He will say the person versed, V-E-R-S-E-D, and it's kind of like transversed or they left the area. But yeah, this was great, and I learned after I finished reading it that the whole trip to the border and then across the Rio Grande and into the United States and then finding her brother at the place where he's at is essentially based on Aztec mythology of entering the Mexican underworld. So I really enjoyed this one. It was quite short. I didn't love it. This is my first Yuri Herrera. I might come back to it later. So that was the third book I wanted to talk about. And then my favorite read that I'm going to talk about actually my second favorite read that I'm going to talk about, was Wise Blood by Flannery O'Connor. This is a classic of Southern Gothic literature. I think if anyone is interested in Southern Gothic, this is probably a must read. This is my first Flannery O'Connor. As far as I know about Flannery O'Connor, she was born in Savannah, Georgia. She did not live a very long life. I believe she had lupus, and it seemed like, you know, her life was embroiled with sadness and melancholy and despair, which are all tenets of Southern Gothic literature. So Wise Blood is all about Hazel Motes, who is a young World War II veteran. He's returning to the United States. He ends up in this town, and he is on a mission to kill Jesus Christ. He founds the Church Without Christ because he doesn't understand why people are so enamored with Christianity and with Jesus and with God. He doesn't feel like those have led his life, and so he wants to destroy it, essentially, in other people. But as he finds out, and some of the other characters find out, no matter how much you try to destroy religion, no matter what that religion is, something will crop up that is almost religious. At one point, Hazel Motes meets a blind preacher, and that's sort of fun because, I mean, I feel like the blind preacher, or the blind, like, wise man is almost a trope in fiction. But Flannery O'Connor really plays it on its head, because you find out that even though the blind preacher is preaching about Jesus, Hazel Motes is much more of a true prophet than the blind preacher is. So this one, fantastic. Would recommend it, especially if you enjoy Southern Gothic fiction. And then, fifth book that I just finished a couple days ago that I will be making a video about is The Talented Mr. Ripley by Patricia Highsmith. Excellent, excellent, excellent novel. Highly recommend this to anybody. Especially, I think, if you're someone who hasn't picked up a book and read and finished a book in a long time, I think this might be the one that could get you back into reading. It reads very quickly. I mean, it's a little over, it's about 275 pages, but it reads so fast. It is definitely sort of a psychological thriller. I haven't read American Psycho yet, but it almost, I think, feels like American Psycho if Patrick Bateman were a little more sophisticated. I don't know. But what's going on here is Mr. Ripley, Tom Ripley. He's kind of actually, you know what? I'm not going to talk about this one, since I'm going to make a video about it. I'm not going to talk about it a lot. Classic, though, European travel, murder, intrigue, great novel. So that's The Talented Mr. Ripley by Patricia Highsmith. And what I started after finishing The Talented Mr. Ripley, Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Finally, this is one of the books I said I was going to read in 2025, and I started it. Volcano Lover, I also said I wanted to read in 2025, so I'm glad I finished that one. None of the other books I mentioned in that video I finished yet, but I always expected I was going to add a few in, and I probably won't get to every single book I talked about. But I think a lot of booktubers are reading Lonesome Dove in June. I could be mistaken about that, but I think a lot are. I think it's kind of like a trend that's going on, so I wanted to hop on that. I've heard excellent things about it, and so far they are all correct. I am about 140 pages in. It's over a 900-page novel, I think, but oh wow, it does not read like it. The characters, the dialogue, I'm just flying through it. It's all really amazing. It really puts you in the setting of this Texas town and close to the Mexican border that I don't feel like any book has done in a long time for me, making me feel that in the setting and with the characters. So I will for sure be making a video about Lonesome Dove as well. I hope to finish it within the next couple weeks. It is long, but I think because of how easily it reads, I can get through it. So that's what I've been reading. That's what I'm gonna make a video about, and then this is what I will be finishing soon. Thank you for watching. I'm going to try to be posting a video at least once a month, hopefully more like twice a month, but like I said, life kind of just bogged me down, but I think the summer is going to be a little easier for me, so I'm hoping twice a month for the next little bit. Thank y'all for watching, and have a great day.